everyone. Today another series of our law. I have come to present this about types of visas under immigration laws in India. I, Dr. Katiyani Juneja, will present you upon this particular topic. Coming to the very first initiation of the definition. So what is immigration? Immigration involves a process through which individuals can become permanent residents or citizens of any other country. This law is basically referring to the governmental policies that control phenomenon of the immigrations. And immigration law actually belongs to the legal status of people. Historically, the process of immigration has been of great social and economic cultural benefit to the states. Whereas, if we talk of the modern sense, immigration in modern sense refers to the movement of people from one place, maybe one nation state, to another nation state, where they are not citizens. They want to be the citizens of that particular country or else they just want to go there and reside themselves for the benefits or either for the opportunities of employment or some political communities. Also, immigration implies to a long-term permanent residence, that is done through the immigration policies. So, while we talk of immigration experience, it has been long and varied, and in many cases has resulted in a development of multicultural societies. Many modern states have characterized it by varied cultures and ethnicities that have derived over the periods of the immigration. So, while we talk of short-term visits or immigration for the small duration of time to one country to another country, again immigration law comes into play. More often, people also migrate for certain economic reasons, whereas there are certain circumstances like push and pull factors, these are called. Whereas push factors may include like poverty in their own country, maybe natural disasters or calamities, or maybe a war-like situation. So they want to move out of their own country and inhabit in another country. Also, the pull factors could be, they'll have a sound political stability. Also, they'll look for healthier or better incomes or higher incomes in their, for the employment opportunities and various other family reasons. If your husband or a spouse is, wives are residing in a particular nation state, so you plan to immigrate to that particular nation state. Coming to the next part, what are the various essential immigration concepts? The first concept that pertains to immigration law is about, domicile, nationalities. How are they different? How a citizen or a non-citizen, immigrant or a non-immigrant, visa status, how are these words different from each other? Firstly, if we talk of a domicile is some person's willful residence where they want to be living for their they plan to live their livelihood for the extensive period of time. They can be different from the citizenship they hold. Citizenship holds that pertains to their political belongings. They can be citizens of a particular country and be productive about their citizens and take the opportunities and the things like that in regards to the citizen policies. Next comes the nationality. Nationality could also be different in that pretext. Nationality could be belonging to some particular nation. I can be a national of a particular nation state or a country and a citizen of another country. Maybe I have moved from my nationality as an Indian citizen and moved to another country and acquired citizenship of that particular country. In India, we do not support the concept of dual citizenship. A few countries like USA do support dual citizenship. Coming to the next point, that is immigrant and a non-immigrant. So, immigrant basically means about a person who has gone or moved to another nation state or a country and have resided and has planned to reside over a longest period of time. Whereas a non-immigrant has planned a smaller or a shorter visit, maybe for some, a conference, or maybe some tourism purposes, or any of that sort. Then what is a visa? That is the prime concept that we'll be discussing here in this lecture today. Visa and status. Visa is like a stamp, just like a key to enter to another country. If a country is a door, visa is a key. Visa, we'll talk about it in the next slide. So visa means option of a document combining to travel to a country, for an entry to a country, or staying in that country. Also, if we talk of availability of visas, it is basically the visas are available for two prime motives. First is immigrant visas, and second is the non-immigrant visas. For those who want to stay in that country, get employment, plan their future there, they will apply for the immigrant visa. Whereas if they have to travel for another country for a smaller duration of time, then it will, they'll opt for the non-immigrant visa. Pertaining to the non-immigrant part, a non-immigrant visa applies to the concepts where they want to go to that country for a shorter visit or a shorter stay. The international law that governs these, immigrant policies belongs to the United Nations Covenant of Civil and Political Rights. And also, there is an organization known as International Organization on Migration. So these concepts are revolved around these particular policies and international laws. Coming to the categories of immigration. As I told you, immigrant is a person who moves or migrates from one country to India for a long-term permanent residence, long-term or a long-term residence that they want to reside in that particular country. Whereas non-immigrant is a person who visits another country for a short period of time, that is maybe for the tourism, for visiting that place, or for the holiday purpose, or for some official meets, etc. And they fall into the categories of non-immigrants. Then about the basics, the basis of immigration. While we talk of immigration, what are the various enactments? How are they going to function? So the basis are these areas, the broader areas which constitute immigration in their policies. First is about the business immigration. Probably there could be some possibility that some person has another business opportunity in another country. So they'll immigrate to that country for the pursuance of their own business. Family. Yet again, family is another concept that comes into play. If your family has planned to move to another country and be an immigrant of that country, they'll move to that particular country. Then is about the employment-based visas or employment-based immigrations. So employment-based immigration includes any opportunities that you have got in case of some jobs or some other opportunities like freelancing that you plan to do in future for the longest period of time. That will constitute, you will have to apply for employment-based immigrant visa. Then is about permanent and temporary immigrations. Permanent and temporary immigrations pertains to if you have to, follow the classification of either of the three, the business, employment, or family, that would constitute your permanent immigration. And then temporary will constitute of any immigration that is otherwise, maybe some tourism purpose, for some entertainment purpose, or for some visit, a short visit, maybe to visit someone, etc. And the last probability is about refugees and asylums. You might have heard about the refugees happen to be immigrating to our country to taking some asylum here. So people come and reside here in the country to take benefit of the opportunities that are provided in that country for refuge purpose. So if they are not happy or if they have some scare to their lives in their own countries, they will apply for the refugee immigrations. Asylums, if some person is not feeling safe within their own country, maybe he is accused of some crime, or maybe he wants to escape from that particular country because they are being, he probably thinks he'll be at his life will be a threat for that situation, then he can come and take asylum in the country. That is asylum immigration. So pertaining to, the laws that comes into this picture, the policies or laws in India. Firstly, we'll talk about, the Immigrations Carriers Act, that is in 2000. So that is basically the problem of arrival of large passengers who come and reside in our country. So they have to be streamlined again. So in that contravention, we started with the Passport Act, right? So passport is like the door. As I told you, visa is the key. So passport is the door. If a person is holding a country's passport, then that person will have to be a citizen of that particular country. Okay. And then what about foreigners who are visiting India? Again, there are foreign policies that come into picture. So we have categories that apply for the purposes of long-term visas. We have there are FRROs, that is foreign registrations offices. For that reason, they have to apply their visas in those offices to stay for these areas. Again, business, for family, employment based, or any permanent based visas. Coming to the next part, that is about immigration checks, eligibilities, conditions, process that is involved. So the firstly, immigration checks is conducted to all the passengers. Maybe they are Indians, maybe they are non-Indians, or maybe they are foreigners of any other country, both at the time of their arrival as well as their departure. So the passports are duly stamped, and as when they enter the country or the airports, they are to be identified whether they are foreigners or whether they are Indians. So they'll have a departing from the country, they'll hold one, they'll have to fill up one form, that is again a disembarkation form, and the second is about the embarkation form, that is at the arrival stage. So the process that involves hereby is in regards to this. Then coming to the immigrant visas. So what are the immigrant visas? Immigration, as I told you, that is based on a long-term perspective. If you have to, if you plan to stay in India for the longest duration, then you think of living in India on the basis of their employment, on the basis of, getting an entry visa or a medical visa or a student visa. So these areas come under Indian context in regards to applying for an immigration purpose. People from other countries, if they want to acquire some permanent employment in India, then they'll have to have the employment visa. They'll have to go through a proper procedure in regards to that. And then again, entry visa, if they want to come and stay here, same goes for the entry visa. Whereas in medical visa, if they want to come here for some medical procedure or surgery, then again they'll have to apply for the medical visa. Student visa, yet again, if they want to come and study in this country, then they'll have to go about the student visa. So these are the areas where you plan to stay for a longer duration, and then they have to apply for the immigrant visas. So non-immigrant visas, again, as I told you, non-immigrant visa applies to when the person who wants to come and visit the country for a short-term period. Again, for a business visa, if you want to pursue some business conference or conduct some business meeting, then you have to apply for the non-immigrant visa, that is through business visa. Similar about the conference, if you want to come down to India to attend some conference, that talks about the conference visa. Then there is an emergency visa. If somebody has to apply in certain emergencies, like if there's some death has happened or something like that, again, or some medical procedure is to be followed for an emergency, then they have to apply for the emergency visa. Research visa, again, if some person or a student has to do some research in some area of the country, then they have to apply for the non-immigrant research visa. And again, student visa, that could be if it is a provisional one. Otherwise, it is categorized into immigrant visa. If it is for a shorter duration one or a provisional one, then it is a student visa that is given on a provisional basis. That would be a non-immigrant visa. Whereas tourist visas and various concepts like visa on arrival for tourism purposes. So visa on arrival in that case means people who want to visit the countries which we have, there are around 42 countries that we have friendly relations with, coming to the pretext of India, then they can apply through an visa when right after they enter. Otherwise, they'll have to do the procedure beforehand. Transient visa, if somebody has to travel, plan a travel via, they have to land in India and thereafter take another visa to another country, then the transit visa is required. Maybe they have to spend a day on the land of the earth, then a land of India, then they have to apply for the transit visa, and thereafter they can plan to go to another country, that is taking a hopping flight via India. Then urgent visa, again if there is some urgency or emergency, it is one of the same things. Then the new concept that has come into picture is about the e-visas, which are generally issued these days on the pretext of applying somewhere or using online modes of applying the visas, so that the people are streamlined while applying their visa procedures. So all of these visas are generally not available, but a few of them like conference, business, student, etc. are provided, and tourists are provided through the e-visa applications. Now, if I, in that regard, again, the possibilities of the policies of law that comes here within the ambit of Indian laws. That is about, if I tell you, in regards to, the laws that regulate the Citizenship Act. The Citizenship Act, and we'll discuss about the grounds of inadmissibility of immigrants. The inadmissibility means when immigrants are not permitted or not allowed to enter the country, or the immigrants are not having proper legal documentations, or they're having some things where the policies of India do not coincide with, they have to be inadmissible. So the first pretext on the grounds hereby is the crime, frauds, or if there are a threat to the national security. So crimes and frauds pretexts, like some immigrant has committed some grave crimes, or they have committed some frauds, or they have been a threat to the national security of the country itself, then they can be removed or deported from the country itself, or whereas they will not be provided the immigrant visas. Second, that if they have unauthorized way or unlawful way, or they have exceeded the amount of the stay that were that they were permitted to through their visa, so in that context also they can be deported from the country itself. If they have overstayed, they'll have to pay a certain fine, or they'll have to be sent back to their own native country. And in an unauthorized manner, if they are staying in the country, then also they'll have to face certain legal implications. Deportation, yet again, deportation or expulsion are two different terminologies. In the public international law, we generally use expulsion, that is, expelling one person from their native state or from their another country. Whereas deportation means if you have committed some wrongful act, or maybe some crime, or you have exceeded the stay, or there is some issues in regards to the clearance, or some immigration issues, then you will be deported from the country. Then the deportation will take place. Then border enforcements. Border enforcements, there are certain restrictions when it comes to borders, and we have certain policies with our bordering countries. And if certain laws and policies do not abide, do not confine with, or do not coincide with the, immigrant policies at that particular moment of time, they can be deported back to their respective countries. Whereas immigration authorities, if immigration authorities do not, have received any of the documentations that was permitted, or in that case, Bureau of Immigration of India, that is again, have to provide you for certain documentation in that regard. If your documentation is not clear, or it's not, clarity is not there, or there is some missing documents, or there is some illegal documentation is there, then again you are inadmissible immigrant. Lastly, if we talk about immigration clearance, if you are unable to process your clearance, maybe your passport has expired, or maybe your visa has expired, or your passport has finished off their pages, then again they'll have to face some inadmissibility in regards to their immigration. So before coming in the end, I want to identify the areas where the law actually comes into picture. first we have in hand is the Bureau of Immigration, which is again headed by a Commissioner of Immigration and assisted by various FRROs. Whereas these FRROs are various, are there in all the big cities and the metropolitan cities where you can apply for the immigrants, or if there are any issues in regards to immigrations or other visa issues. So this is it from my end. Thank you so much for this session, and we'll continue our sessions in pretext of law for the next.